Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today I'm here with Donovan Ruffin, who's a DFW local as well. He's calling me names like old guy and stuff like that, so it's going to be an interesting show.
Old head, big difference.
Old head, okay. That means like I'm like Yoda-esque, but I guess. But anyway, we're going to talk about, it's been a challenging couple of years here, and we're going to talk about just challenges, like how to navigate those challenging times. I think everybody watching this has probably felt it. So we're going to peel back the onion a little bit and talk about it.
Sure.
What's up? What's up, dude?
man?
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. I love doing, by the way, I've been podcasting for 13 years. I've done probably almost 2,000 podcasts, and you're probably number like 5 or 6 of in person.
Really?
We just created the studio. I've always just done them online.
Oh, cool.
And so I love, honestly, for guys like you, when we cross paths, we always have a good conversation, but we don't cross paths nearly enough. So I'm like, I'm going to find a way to get people to come to me, and here we are. So thanks for coming in.
It's like, I think like you're so like huge and like a big deal, right? Like the few paths are like on stages or behind stages, like at my stage or your stage. So
yeah, or events. I like go to a lot of times. I was talking to somebody else. I have a bunch of friends here that sometimes we never see each other here, but we like go to Orlando for an event and like see each other.
Right.
Like, why don't we see each other? We live like 15 minutes apart, but
yeah.
So, dude, we're going to talk a little bit about you've been in the business for, I think you said about 10 years now, right? But the last kind of 5 or 6 years, like you really probably kind of put yourself on the map with working hard and building something kind of special and
chasing clout.
Yeah.
Here I am chasing clout again.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah. I'm not that old, dude.
Oh, I didn't say you're old. I just said you're old head.
Okay.
Big difference.
But you're like asking, like, do you know what that means? It's almost like
I mean, so the audience might not know.
Yeah. Okay. So what's chasing clout? What do you mean?
Like marketing. Yeah. Like getting out there in the public image.
Yeah. Well, you do a lot of JV stuff. So that's like, sometimes people do social media for ego reasons. Sometimes they do it because they run ads and that they're the face of their brand or whatever. And like one way, I mean, I'm the same way. Like I do, part of the reason I do podcasts and I've been doing it for so long is I get to build relationships with people and see what's going to, it might just be, hey, now we know each other.
Yeah.
It might be, it was a great conversation, or it might be like, hey, let's find some ways to collaborate or do something together or work together or whatever, I mean, I think karma's alive and well. And I think one of the problems with social media is that the relationships are kind of shallow. Like they don't go very deep, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to create the studio is I feel like I can have deeper conversations with people in person.
Makes sense.
Even if we mean well online, it's just not the same as, because you and I hung out for a half hour before this and we'll talk after this, and so it allows us to get to know each other a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So who are you, dude? Like tell me.
I'm Don, man.
Tell everybody a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I'm Don. Moved here when I was just a small boy. It's about 16, knucklehead, right? Middle child. So I guess you're like crowned the black sheep of the family, right? So entrepreneur early on, and I mean, you're telling me a little bit about your son. It was reminding me a little bit how I was when I was a teenager, like buying and selling stuff all the time.
Yeah. And
I just kind of like realized I had like a skill set, right? Like I learned how to sell, right? I got my big break actually because everything's about timing, right? So I was in the right place at the right time, and me and my business partner at the time, we landed an AT&T contract and direct sales to go door to door and business to business, and that's kind of like where I made my first big break. And we have like 10 different sales offices around the country, and just going and talking to every bar and restaurant we could possibly talk to, and essentially upgrading people's services in their establishments of like new internet and new direct TV, and AT&T pays pretty well. So I mean, being a young knucklehead, it's just like $1 million in my account. I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I've traveled all over the place and spent all this crazy money, but it was like time to start investing, right? So kind of led me to the real estate game. One of my buddies, he actually sent me a check of like $18,000, and it was like one of those kids where it's just kind of lame, right? So it was like, not to like shun him or anything, but I was like, man,
he showed you a check of how much he made.
yeah, and I was like, if this fucking guy could do this, then I can probably do it way better, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like that's kind of what I needed to like really take it like serious and just like get started, right? Did a couple wholesale deals early on, and then I started doing fix and flips really heavy. And I'm sure fix and flips are take a certain amount of not just like emotional toll, but like the amount of the revolving of
it's a
everything
roller coaster, financial, emotional.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of different moving pieces to it. And I mean, it worked at that time just because I had my marketing company and doing fix and flips and just kind of learning how to put the pieces together and operating both. But, like anything else, it's kind of like hard to chase too many rabbits. So I just made a decision to go out real estate about 10 years ago, actually, or not 10 years ago, in 2018. So I was like doing it for like 3 years, and I just made a decision to just go like full time.
Yeah.
And so
talk about that a little bit, because a lot of entrepreneurs have shiny object syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of it too, right? I've got a lot of things going on, probably too many things, but
yeah,
it used to be, it's a little more methodical now. I think it used to just be like, there's a squirrel over there, I'm going to go chase it,
Yeah.
So talk about like, because I'm sure that was a struggle, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you have sales skills,
Yeah.
you got the skills to pay the bills and all
Right.
that stuff, right? But it's easy. It's like, well, I could do a lot of things. Just talk
Mm-hmm.
about that, like share some tips for like how to get focused, because a lot of people are all over the place. And I think the last couple of years when it's been tough, it's even worse, because people are like, this got hard, maybe this is easier. It's like, maybe it is right now, but it won't be next year. Like it's going to get hard too. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, like I kind of like know myself as a person, right? And I just kind of like realize I'm like, I have my real God-given skill sets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even, or develop skill sets, right? So I learned how to sell early on, and then I learned how to build sales teams. And so just kind of like understanding those two dynamics, I learned marketing too. So that's kind of why it made sense for me to fall into like the wholesaling industry, just because that's all it is sales and marketing, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, I know how to build sales teams. So it just made sense. And yeah, I mean, like I know really good salespeople, and obviously there's a lot of products that you can sell out there, and it just makes the most sense to sell the biggest asset people own.
Yeah.
I've
said that before. Like I've in many ways fallen out of love with real estate. Like I like what it's done for me. I like what it does for me. And I'm like, if this is kind of a little joke at this point, I'm like, well, if I could make this much money selling tacos, I'd rather sell tacos, but I can't, you know what I mean? Who doesn't love a taco? Like,
it's funny that you say that, man. Like falling out of the real estate, it's just like, cause I mean, I've done so many fix and flips and walked so many properties, and just like the disgust and like being in the field, it was just like in traffic. And I remember like getting to a point in my business where it's like, I never want to walk a house ever again.
Yeah.
And then I get tired of my own house. It's like, I remember like vividly like walking through a property one time, and I almost like fell through the floor. It wasn't even slab. Wholesaler lied, said it was like a slab foundation. And I was like, it's not a fucking slab, because I almost fell through the floor. It was like pure and beam. And I was just like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have to like come to the field anymore, So it's just, and then on top of that, the amount of time it takes to like walk properties, it's not HGTV stuff, man. It's just like you're dealing with people with like real emotions and really tough situations, and it's just like it kind of take a toll on you emotionally if you let it.
Yeah, it's just a vehicle. I mean, not everybody's different, but I used to love the transformation. That's why I did so many fix and flips, because I love the transformation. I loved how much money I was making too, but it just turns out that I just love what real estate can do for you, and not necessarily real estate anymore. It's just, at the end of the day, it just is a widget.
I mean, my favorite part about, being in the industry now is like the relationships, right? It's just like, the community and being around people and building actual connections to genuinely help people and serve each other's lives. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. So it's been a interesting couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I this was your idea, by the way, to talk about kind of challenges. Sure. And it's funny because I had I did a podcast earlier today, and the similar thing. The person said, like, let's just talk about like, issues I've been going through, because I just want to be real. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, that's not everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But
well, what I've learned too, especially being back in the limelight, chasing clout. No, I'm kidding. Is like you can't be naive to the reality of people going through things, right? Yeah. So a lot of people get on podcasts and they only talk about the good, and the shiny, and sell this, buy this type deal. And I it's kind of cringy, you know. It's just
Yeah.
like, especially when you know people personally, it's just like, man, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
hopping on a podcast is not talking about any challenges at all. I think it's kind of boring, right? So, I don't think it serves people to not talk about
Sugarcoat
challenges.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunately that's how social media largely is, right? So, yeah.
Except
Well,
for TikTok. TikTok is pretty story oriented, right? People going through issues all the time. There's a lot of story time in there. Like, I was watching a TikTok, like this guy, he's a real estate guy, right? And I don't even know if I should tell a story, but it was public, right? Um, and so he was like walking through this property, and that there was like a dead body inside of the property. I'm like, oh, maybe you should probably call the police before you get on TikTok live.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy how the reach of social media these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Good, bad, or indifferent, right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the challenges, because
Sure.
I think a lot of people are going to feel these things. Like, so we kind of came up with a bunch of just basically the areas of your business where you maybe have made some pivots, some lessons learned, some things to not do, whatever that might be. So let's kind of jump into, I mean, you've had a pretty good sized team for a while, and you talked about building sales teams, which by the way is a great skill, because there's a lot of people in this business that are really good at sales, but not sales leadership.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of those people get stuck in a high paying job, you know, and if they want to go on vacation or they want to take time off if they get sick or whatever, like business kind of stops. So, but like, what are some kind of things that have happened over the past couple of years, like lessons learned from a team building standpoint, leadership standpoint? I know you had a nice big office. Like, I don't know what all's changed, but like, what are some lessons learned over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think it was like October of 2023. I was kind of looking at my business and my income and what was assigned and what was pending. And I was like, holy crap, if we don't make a decision to change something right now, like today, we're going to go bankrupt in less than 60 days.
Oh, wow.
And so I like got my pen and paper, and I was like, okay, well, this is what the business needs. This is what the business doesn't need. This is what the industry needs. This is what the industry doesn't need. This is what I need. This is what I don't need. Right. And I was kind of like looking at things. I was like, I'm very stubborn. I don't want to give up anything. Right. And I don't like change. I'm very stubborn. If something's working, then I just keep to it. Even if it doesn't work, maybe I just work harder.
Right.
And working my ass off, teams working their ass off. And I was like, this isn't fair to anybody if we don't change anything. So it's kind of like looking at our business model, and we changed like two key things in our company that help dramatically for us to like be profitable through the storm per se. For one is we changed our comp plan to all commission. And you know, our hitters in the office were begging, like, please just put me on all commission. It's kind of hard to justify just doing it for one person versus everybody, because everybody's like on salary, all the sales guys. And so we made that decision, put everybody on all commission. And then the second thing is it was just like a clear focus to just focus on the business to business and JVs, because we were experiencing kind of like we were contracting properties like crazy. All of these deals made sense. And I was like, why is nobody buying this deal? And where's all the buyers at, right? And what we were experiencing in the market essentially is just we were selling deals to fix and flippers, and the people that normally bought properties from us consistently, they're just flat out of cash. Yeah, they buy a property and then it decreased in value by $30,000, $40,000. Their net profit margins on purchasing was that, right? You know what I mean? Hold costs and stuff like that. So essentially, we just saw like a huge shift of just cash leaving the market as far as
money was harder to get.
Money was harder to get.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, we got to do something. We have to find people to buy these properties, right? So, and I was kind of looking at our model. It's like we needed to hire like 10 people in like a 30-day span to stay alive. And I was like, how can we justify that if we have to pay everybody in salary, right? And so when we went on commission, it's just like, okay, now we can open the gates. Let's bring more people on so we can serve our clients and people that are, bringing us business and finding people to actually buy these properties. And that's what we did.
Yeah. So do you feel like when you went to all commission, like you did it obviously to mitigate some risk, right? You're like, if they don't perform, you're not paying non-performers. So, I mean, that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah. Cause you think about like the cycle of the money coming into our business, right? It was like getting spaced out between a lot of people that weren't performing. Right. And then, people that were performing, obviously the top 10, 20% of the company, they're looking at the underperformers like, why do you even work here? Yeah. You know what I mean?
So those guys and gals, I guess, do you say gals at your age?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah,
Okay, girls.
Old head terminology.
You ever? I catch myself. I'm 50, by the way. I'm not like.
Really?
I'm
I thought you were in your 40s.
Huh? Yeah.
You used to be.
Round it up. I used to be in my 40s. Yeah. But
kind of look like Mark Cuban.
Sometimes you still do not say that because I just saw a meme that.
Drop in the comments. Is this Mark Cuban's
Cuban
clone?
Looks like Rachel Maddow. So if
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, you don't even want to know who it is.
Who's that?
She's like a CNN
news reporter. I don't watch CNN.
Yes. No. Who does? But anyway,
Fox
I think you just
News,
basically said I look like Rachel Maddow. I'm not telling my wife.
That's a lie. So you look like Mark Cuban.
Okay. Anyway, let's change the subject. So, this is going to be a comedy show. So, I don't even know what we were just saying.
I was train of thought.
We were talking about your performers stepped up.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the people that didn't perform went away, I guess, right? Ultimately?
No, I mean, obviously, like any sales company is going to have turnover, right? But I mean, we didn't really see effect where like we had like a bunch of people quit like overnight, right?
Right.
It was a challenging time just because it was different, like because I had to go into a meeting and essentially just like change everybody's pay in one setting. And it was like there's a lot of different emotions going around the office and, politics in the company. It was just managing that was something I've never experienced before.
Right.
And learning how to get through that and pivotal to that, make everybody feel comfortable and see the positives of, being able to be all commission. It actually serves them to, in the beneficial, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. People were obviously nervous when it first happened. And then eventually once they started seeing the commission checks, because they're obviously a lot bigger, it started to make more sense for them and they started to get more comfortable, more confident. They started performing better.
Yeah.
We started selling more properties. That's what
you feel like there's always this shift. Like you were right at the bend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys contracted to buy properties using yesterday's numbers, probably in some instances, right? Where it's like, that's not worth that anymore. We're not going to find somebody to buy that anymore. Maybe the ARV is too high and people aren't buying like $600,000 houses in Dallas when the median price point's like 300 or 350 or whatever it is, right? Or some of that, right? Do you feel like your compensation change of being more salaried, like versus commission, got people to take more risks with your money?
No, it wasn't necessarily that. We just needed to find more buyers.
Yeah.
We had 3 people in dispositions in October of 23. Now we have like 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
so they were just used to selling to the same people.
Yeah, the same relationships. Well,
Yeah.
They can only do so much in a day too,
Right.
And so, that's what changed for us.
Yeah.
But
But 2 years ago or 3 years ago,
Right.
before if you could put it, as soon as you put a deal on, it was gone, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, our business was almost opposite, right? We'd have, 20 acquisitions and 1 dispositions because it was so hard to find a deal.
Right.
Now they just hit our office like, please buy this or please take this off my hands.
Yeah.
Please help me find a buyer. And we're here for it. That's what, that's where we found our angle and our lane to serve the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe talk a little about kind of mindset, just like you as a leader and your leadership team, like what's changed over the past couple of years? Because a lot of folks probably in your office and this industry, like, haven't been through a down cycle before, so they only knew up, right? And so you got to take there's a lesson there of like learning to go through.
Yeah,
cycle.
Here's the reality, man. It's just like even in right now, like I'm. It sounds doubtful, or it sounds like negative when I say this, but it's just like we're in a market where you have to work harder, you have to work longer hours, and to make less money, right? And it was hard for me to get a grasp of that because it was just like, why would I even convince myself of that? But the reality of it is, it was so easy for everybody for a long time. It was just, we were spoiled, and we're kind of chatting earlier. It's just like, even in today's market, it's still a lot easier than when I first started, right? So it's just very humbling, to go through a season like this to kind of realize it's not always going to be stars and rainbows.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be super easy. But at the end of the day, when the storm's gone, the grass is going to be green or completely wiped out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It makes you stronger. Like
Yeah,
you'll go through, when you go through these lessons, like you're not afraid of the downside. Because honestly, most people in real estate make money in a down market.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, most of the wealth, not necessarily the transactional stuff,
right,
but the wealth, right,
Yep.
is typically made during a down market.
But I think, that you kind of hit it spot on. It's just kind of like where, like, obviously, if everybody's going this way, there's obviously going to be opportunity this way. You just got to find what angle it is, right? In a down market, right? So it's just like, how do you capitalize on the down market, right? and just finding what you're good at, matching it with something you might not enjoy it, but I mean, it's profitable,
Right.
pays all your bills, keeps employees happy. You know what I mean?
If you think about like people that invest in the stock market, like there's nobody that, I mean, they can sit on the sidelines, they can shift to different strategies, stocks to bonds or whatever, But I mean, most real estate investors just know transaction to transaction to transaction. But when you get around people that've been around for a long time, I mean, a lot of wholesalers can never stop.
Yep.
Because they're as good as their last transaction.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to have that. You got to go through some lessons to learn, like, okay, here's how we pivot. Here's how we pivot. Here's how we shift. And when this happens, we do that. And you're just a better business person ultimately.
Yep.
So I won't say I'll have all the answers, but you kind of know, like, as long as there's people and there's people with people problems and houses, like there's opportunity for us. It's just a matter of what tool you're pulling out of the tool belt.
Exactly. Yep. How can you make somebody's life better?
Right.
When people got problems, it's kind of easy to do that.
Yeah.
If you really think of it from that philosophy.
Yeah. This is what I think is going on. I mean, this is what most of us are feeling is, I've always said, like, in the real estate market, probably half of the houses that I bought over the years, like half of them are death, divorce, inheritance, like the real problems that we know that creates this opportunity. And then roughly half of them are people that just want the convenience. Like they're just like, I don't need all the money. Like I've owned it for a long time. I got all my money out of it. People have all these reasons, but they use us for convenience, but they're usually moving up. They're usually moving into another house.
Yeah.
And so that seller that's not like getting rid of a house they inherited or a house they don't need anymore because they already have another house. Like the convenience people are the ones that the markets come to a screeching halt on because they can't afford the next house.
Right.
Because of interest rates, or they're just like, well, I'm just going to move in with family or whatever, right? So I think that market is what needs to loosen up, and that'll start to create more opportunities for guys like us.
I mean, it's an interesting time in today's market, but I think now it's like a little bit more stable. Like I mean, the drop happened, right? But I feel like learning, like getting through it and learning how to adapt in a market like this, it just becomes more consistent.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to continue to go from
It is a timing issue. Yeah. So what are you doing differently from an acquisitions standpoint? You just said you've had 20 acquisitions people at one point. And I mean, it can't help but force you to be a little more conservative, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. What do you do? What do you and your team do differently from an acquisition standpoint?
Yeah. So
this market?
We do PPL, right, for like direct to seller marketing. But I mean, 90% of our business is like JVs and B2B.
Okay.
I mean, we have like a fairly good brand, I would think. It was like kind of our mission is just like, if you enter into the space of real estate, you should hear about our company. And I mean, I kind of like be a little bit confident when I say I've probably been doing a pretty good job about getting our brand out there, specifically for that purpose, right? Is because it was never our mission to just continue to spend $100,000 a month on marketing.
Right.
We have to kind of diversify at a certain point, right? So if Nike just shuts off all their ads tomorrow, are they still going to make money?
Yeah.
Probably. People would just buy it based off the brand, right? But obviously there's Nike commercials.
Right.
I mean, do you see like a phone number at the bottom of a Nike commercial?
No.
Or an address to a store?
Mm-hmm.
What about a website?
Well, it's kind of intuitive. You know what the website is.
You see the brand, right?
Right.
And it's just kind of like brand awareness.
Yeah.
So I started studying a lot of these big brands. And I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense where it's just like, I mean, I started with like we buy houses signs with a phone number and a name, right? It's like direct marketing. And now the marketing that we invest a lot into is a little bit more of like brand awareness, and where we focus our energy is getting our brand out there so people can come to us to do repeat business. And they trust us because the brand's there.
Yeah. Yeah. What is and then these are generally people that are they just value the relationships that you have. Like you obviously are push button, like easy button for dispo.
Yeah.
Like how would you describe the benefits that people have by bringing deals to you and working through you guys?
Well, I mean, it's just kind of, it's really hard to like be able to sell a deal net to you by selling it by yourself as a one person operator or a two, 3 person operator.
Right.
Versus like a staff of 30. It's really tough.
Yeah.
And understanding that is just because we have a lot of relationships. I mean, our sales team, they do a hell of a job, and full time all days they're looking and hunting for new relationships for people to pay cash for properties.
Right.
And so the industry sees that and understands that, and that's why it's just like, hey, it just makes sense to sell a deal through equity cash offer.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in like knowing who the mom and pops are that are in that area that might pay more, knowing who the institutional buyers might be, and if you have a few friends that are telling me that some of the hedge funds and institutional buyers are starting to come back, and especially in select markets, but like markets like Texas and stuff like that are a little more robust.
Yeah, I mean, even when they were here, I was still like with our internal team. It's just like we probably sold maybe like 2% to institutional buyers. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why.
Yeah,
and the biggest one is because I kind of saw ahead of that. Okay, it's like if you guys are just selling to these guys and that's all you know, what happens when they stop buying?
right.
And that's exactly what happened. A lot of our competitors, quote unquote, completely went out of business.
Yeah.
Because that was their main clientele,
right?
And so because I didn't allow our team to only focus on that, obviously we still sold to them occasionally, but really building a true skill set to go out there and hunt for somebody that's wanting to buy a property in cash.
It's funny as a real estate investor, there's things that happen like institutional buyers. You're like, how do they afford to pay for that? How does it make sense? It really didn't make sense. Like,
I think they just tricked the market.
Yeah,
it's like weird. They came in and bought like 30% of the inventory.
There's things that happen sometimes, and another one is, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. But when the government subsidizes, like when I started in 2008, there were government subsidies you could pay for the sellers like closing costs and all this stuff. The government was kicking in 3%, and like, it's like. Well, I'm kind of an anti-government guy. We won't get into the politics now. But my point is like that, like, I don't want to, this is not a political statement, but Kamala Harris is like, well, we're going to get the cost of housing down and we're going to give everybody $25,000 to buy a house. I was like, that is the exact opposite of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, even if you pay somebody $25,000,
it's going to go up.
The prices are going to go up. That's how inflation works. You just printed that money out of thin air to do that, right? But it's like, I hate it politically. But from a real estate perspective, it's good for me. I mean,
somebody told me a story actually. In New York, there was this neighborhood, and in this neighborhood, I don't know, there's probably like 10 houses on this block. So one by one, this family would buy these properties. One by one, they would. I mean, they didn't matter how, like whatever they wanted to sell for, they were buying it. They owned the entire street, and all of a sudden, when they wanted to sell, there was no comps. So when sold, somebody else came in and they sold it at a higher price, all of a sudden now there's a comp, right? And so basically what happened is like the entire area right there was just completely different. It's transformed, right? And if you really think about what happened to the market in the past couple of years, like 30% of entities bought properties and they didn't sell or resell. They're holding on to them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the market starts bleeding out. And now they're coming back. So I don't know. I guess I have my theories, but I really feel like I feel like institutional buyers really tricked the market.
Yeah. Well, they were definitely I mean,
they manipulated the market.
Illegal, but manipulating the market into like setting high comps and driving up prices in certain areas.
Like like there was no inventory because they were buying it all, which people were just selling their houses for more.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think obviously the correction was definitely needed just because it was really crazy. I mean, hood shack houses in Dallas are selling for like $150,000. I'm like, who in the hood's got 150 bands?
It's crazy when I see.
Do you know what bands means?
Yeah, it's crazy when I see some of the stuff. When I see some of the stuff, I mean, areas that we used to buy houses for, $15 grand, $20 grand. It's like those are like a couple $100,000 houses now. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's good especially if you're holding on to stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you just hold on to some here and there and then watch what happens.
Yeah. So let's talk about your on the dispo side. Like, what are you doing? We talked about it a little bit already, but just building deeper relationships with people.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get a property. Obviously, we'll scout the area to figure out what entities own it. But I think most importantly, it's like we're seeing like a really, really good philosophy that we have where it's just like we're looking for people that want to enter into this space too. Just because obviously the inventory that what we've learned and as far as the past couple of years, a lot of people that have entities that were in the business before are no longer, right? So our main business model and dispositions was just look for entities, and that's it, right? But now it's like, especially with our brand, a lot of people are coming back to the market or want to get into it because they understand the market's low. So they want to come in and buy stuff while it's low. And, we're attracting those customers as well.
Yeah, it's crazy to say the market's low, but it might be. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I think we're at kind of the tail end.
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably going to see some, probably like another year before we start actually physically seeing statistics before it goes up because, Trump's back in office and obviously we changed. I don't expect it to go up immediately, but in due time, I believe 2026, the summertime is going to be crazy.
In terms of increasing prices. Yeah. It is crazy because I think back, if I could go back to 2008 when I started, and from like 2008 to 2012, there were, I don't know the answer to this, but there were a lot of houses on the market I could go back to that era and buy everything on the MLS at full price under 150,000, and I would look like a genius right now. Right? But it's just like, who would pay 150? I just bought a house over there for 40, Yeah. But it's like, well, you got to put 40 or 50 into it to get it up that level. I mean, but they're also, but who those houses that were 150 back then are 300, 400 now, right? And so the question is will we look back 15 years from now and say, man, back in 2025, if we bought everything we could under 400,000?
I mean, to be honest, I think my favorite part about real estate, I mean, obviously just the entire structure of it is worth something right now, right? Mm-hmm. So if you buy it at the right price at the right time and you hold on to it, in 10 years, you're not going to lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the beautiful
part. Key is you got to get it to cash flow or at least break even. And I think, it wasn't always this way. When I first started in DFW, I had a mentor that owned a ton of rental properties. And he was like, you're never going to get appreciation here in Texas. Like, he's like, it's all about cash flow. Now, the reality is they've never really cash flowed that well, but the appreciation's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's not really what I expected. And I think the mindset now is like, things have to make business sense, but there's a ton of investors out there that just kind of like land bank or house bank. Like, I'm just going to ride the appreciation wave and I need it to break even now. And I'm okay with just barely breaking even, which sounds crazy because I'm a recovering finance guy. Like, it sounds crazy to me, but the people that do it, like, they've done well.
It's a great long-term strategy.
Yeah. Just park your money in real estate and let it appreciate over time. And I mean, I am glad that Trump's in office. I keep saying we're not going to get political here, but I think inflation's not stopping. Like, there's no way. Yeah. The dollar's being destroyed. And I think
my cousin taught me this. He said it, because I was like, aren't you worried about inflation? Like, everything's so expensive. He's like, that should be a good thing for your pockets if you know how to work the market.
Yeah, if you hold assets.
Yeah.
Anybody that holds assets, could be houses, could be gold, but...
So inflation just means appreciation.
Right.
Easy math.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, I can't afford it. It's like, well, you got to figure it out, right?
Yeah. So. Cool, man. So you've been through some challenges here. So where do you go from here with your business? Like, you made a couple shifts here that we talked about. Like, where do you see things going over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we saw some red months in 23, and it was my mission to see only green months, and we did. And we're not making nowhere close to the net profit as what we used to yet, but we're profitable. Everybody's happy, employed. All our bills are paid, and we're still making profit, right? So now that we have the new foundation at Equity Cash Offers, we're in expand mode, right? So we open an office in San Antonio, a physical location. And then we're going to be opening in Houston, Tampa, and Atlanta here in the next few months. So obviously we kind of have like a working model that's working for us, and we're just essentially going to duplicate the same process in different markets.
Yeah.
And awesome. So, I mean, we found our lane of opportunity and what we're good at, and how we can, serve the industry, and, we're just going to run with it.
It always makes, and on the JV front, I mean, think of Dallas, like 8 million people here, right? And I see people, I hate going into the Facebook groups, but I do it sometimes. And like all these real estate groups where it's often the blind leading the blind, but sometimes you hear people, they're like, hey, I got my 5th deal for the month or whatever. Like, I've never even heard of you. Like, I have no idea who you are. And so there's a lot of opportunity out there. Sometimes we feel like we know everybody. And,
well, I mean, there's a lot of new blood into the market now, or into our space, actually, because I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. And typically you just see the same faces constantly, like events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where do the events go? Do you still do events?
All my masterminds and events.
Okay, yeah,
events are tough. Yeah. Are you still doing your
We're starting back up. Yeah. I mean, we're doing workshops.
Those are good events. I mean, you do that to build relationships, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And brand awareness, obviously, and to obviously put people on. But yeah, I mean, like our last class or our last workshop, like, I didn't know anybody in there. Everybody was young too, or not everybody, but I mean, there was kids in there like 18, 20 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, you're like 10 years old when I got into this space. You're looking at me like I'm an old head.
Yeah.
it's like, well, I guess I got gray hair now.
How old are you now?
I'm 30.
30. Okay. Yeah. You're a little ways away from gray hair, probably.
No, I have grays.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not as prominent as mine.
Yeah. It's when you solving problems. Well, you've solved a lot more problems than me. That's what it means.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of wisdom.
Got more arrow wounds in my back than you.
Yeah. Well, you got to give it up. You got to get up for folks that's been in the space a while. A lot of people don't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, people can be really good at in our space, and then, you know, like I've seen it so many times where people just like completely, you know, nuke their entire existence because it's a relationship business and they just destroy their brand just by being greedy or something, you know?
Yeah. Or
obviously, they, you know, it gets too challenging to got to feed their family, go into a different space and just like lose interest, lose love. And, you know, it's interesting to see like, you know, like the real players and, you know, cause I made a commitment to be in this industry forever. So just trying to find our lane and continue to adapt and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. That markets like this make you stronger to be able to ride the ups and downs, you know?
Yep, that's right.
And the downs suck, but you can't have the ups unless you have the downs.
Right? That's right.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, it's like, I mean, I'm a believer, right? So I was like, why is this happening, God? Like, you know, like, please give me some like direction or answers. And I finally like woke up one day and he's like, hey son, you know, I'm challenging you right now because I'm testing you for more. Like he's trusting me with like more opportunity. And it's not like it's a God-given test or testimony, but it's like, you know, if you're experiencing a tough time right now, you got to kind of look at obviously all the positives behind it, but the strength that you're going to endure through this is the strength that you're going to need and to conquer even when you have more.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about challenges, especially down markets, because, you know, everybody has issues. But, I mean, you'll get to a point, or I reached a point, too, where it's just like, man, I don't have anybody to call to help me solve this.
That's why you should be an Investor Fuel, dude.
Yeah, right? And it's just like, out of all the connections, I don't know who could help me with this issue.
Yeah.
And then you start solving it and trying to figure it out, and then you figure it out and it clicks. And then now every time somebody else has an issue, who they go to. Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of leadership that's developed in struggles and pain and in down markets. Right.
Yeah.
And so you got to kind of see that as like a long-term perspective of gaining real skill sets to prepare you for what's to come.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't do things. They never dive into something because they're afraid to fail. But once you get over like, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail a whole bunch, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be a failure. Like it's not final. Like, am I going to get knocked out a bunch? Yeah. Like, if I were to go do something that I've never done before, like jujitsu, I'm going to fail every day. Like I'm going to get beat up. I'm going to be sore for years if I stick with it. And then eventually, months, I don't know.
Months. Yeah.
And then eventually I'm going to be like, man, I can't believe how strong I am, or I can't believe how I overcame that, or
I can beat everybody's ass now.
Yeah. But that's how the business world is too. You got to get beat up a little bit. You got to get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Like you don't appreciate how the good time. I mean, whenever it's like I always on the coaching side, whenever I have people that like got a really good profitable deal early on, I'm like, nah, that's a bad thing. Like I'm happy for them, but they think it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like
I agree with you.
You know, you got to go through some pain,
right?
Because you don't appreciate the good stuff.
And that's what I'm realizing right now. It's like the people entering into our space right now, they don't realize how, like, if we look at challenges, right, this is going to be the hardest season in the business. And so getting started in the business right now and being able to see success, imagine when the market's better.
Yeah.
You know, be unstoppable versus like, hey, you started when the market was so easy, they're gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Kind of reminds me of that baseball philosophy. I don't know if you watch baseball, but sometimes you'll watch them before they go up to bat and they have like two bats in their hand or like weights at the end of the bat. So by the time they get to the plate, it's easier to swing. They start hitting home runs.
That's how it was in 2008. So everybody was running away and I was running in. I was naive. I had no idea what I was doing. And in hindsight now, people know that was the best time to get in. But at the time, I promise you, like everybody thought we were idiots. Like they just thought, what are you doing? It's like, well, I don't know. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Well, it's like, I mean, like everybody, like the buzzword real estate, right? The buzzword real estate. It was like sexy. It's not like sexy right now. Like, oh, you're in real estate. It's like, how you doing?
Yeah.
You doing okay? Yeah. How you doing, buddy?
But most people think, oh, the media said it's a bad time. So therefore, you know, most people have no idea. And by the way, I think people that don't What's that?
I think people do. Like for example, case study. Like if you're watching this, like 2 people personally that has called you for a loan, that is going through some really tough financial situations right now.
Right.
And that didn't happen previously.
Right.
At least two or 3 people.
Yeah. But there'll be people that have been thinking about getting started.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to wait until it's really good again, right before the next downturn.
Yeah.
And
Good luck.
Start. So like you said, this is the time to get started, because if you can make it now and you can build your skills up now, like when the market does turn here.
Summer of 2020, like starting now, building your skill set, figuring it out, and building momentum and getting your business in motion. I mean, by summer 2026, like you can't just start like before the summer.
Right.
You know what I mean? Good luck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just a lot of opportunities. I mean, even looking at deals, I'm like, wow, like it's crazy. Like, I mean, like yesterday we picked up, I don't know, like 6 or 7 properties. And I was looking at inventory. I'm like, these houses are brand new, like 2024.
Wow.
With like $150,000 in equity.
Wow. Are they like builder closeout type stuff, or who knows?
Somebody just can't afford the payments anymore.
Yeah.
They want to leave, and I mean, newer build communities.
There's a lot of that.
It's hard to sell.
People might have 24, they might not have a great interest rate, they might, but like the problem is like taxes are going through the roof, insurance is going through the roof, and people that can afford their principal payment, but they can't afford the interest and taxes are like going out of control right now.
Yeah, my tax is like $40,000 a year. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna get a ranch like you.
So there's one for sale right across the street. Come out.
I don't know if I want to be neighbors with you, Mike.
Huh? We don't
want to be neighbors.
We're far enough apart. We don't have to see each other that often.
So there's this philosophy that somebody's told me. It's like you're not a man until you own some land.
Okay.
And they aren't making it anymore.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
So God said He's not making any more land, right? So why aren't we buying land?
You can. It's out there. I just interviewed Brent Bowers. He's a land shark.
Nice.
He's a land shark. So
yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. Like you see vacant land, it's like,
yeah, no
building, no structure. I mean, I traveled a lot too. I've seen different ways of life and different cultures. And I remember specifically going to China, and I'll probably never go back to China. But like the way of life there, man, it's just like, wow, like communist country, like everything is packed, buildings everywhere. Like obviously it's not the cleanest place either, but you come back and you're just blessed to be an American. I've traveled to even New York. Have you been to New York?
Yeah, of course.
There's like no grass there. It's like all cement and no sunlight either. There's like buildings everywhere. Right. I'm like, how depressing. This feels like Gotham City. And I'm like moving back to Texas. I'm like, oh, I'm so blessed to be a Texan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's what it takes. You just got to experience different seasons and experience different ways of life to appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
Or understand what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody recently, and they're just like, everything you do, you were meant for something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So step up. Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
those shoes.
I mean, like even like operators, like a lot of people like come to me and they want to just like model exactly what we do and or what I do or whatever, and it's just not built for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really not. And I say that in the kindest heart, but it's just like, I mean, it's built for some people, but like, I mean, the reality of it is, like, for example, like people within our organization at our company, it's just like, man, these, like, for example, like, one of our acquisition guys made like $30,000 last month. I'm like, that is so cool to see.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I'm not going to say the name, but I was like, I approached him one time and I was like, hey man, you think you're ready for like, more responsibilities? Like you want to, manage people, or like, what more do you want? He's like, I'm running right now and I want to stay focused. And he kind of denied that promotion just because he just wanted to stick to that. And that's what made him happy. He lives a great life. Kids are going off to school and, and just crushing it. And so I say that to say this is just like, find your lane and keep running that lane. Find your tribe and stick with that tribe and stick up for them by any means necessary.
Yeah.
But I think most importantly, it's just like, have long-term perspective and goals of what you're doing and why you're doing it. and the long-term benefits towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. Real estate, time, the vantage point of time. I mean, time, you build wealth over time, right? And the truth is I just said this to, I think I was talking to my son yesterday, who's again 17, is like the best businesses are boring businesses. Like you don't want drama in your business. Like you don't want like HGTV where your contractor's throwing a hammer through a window. Like we just want boring stuff, And so like build a boring business.
Yeah. I mean, here's the reality. It's just like there's no way to wealth when you're broke. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, you have to have, this is what I believe. You have to have active income to build passive income.
That's right.
Like a lot of people I just want to own a bunch of rentals. It's like, well, how are you going to pay for them?
Exactly.
How are you going to pay for
the
marketing to find them, acquisitions? Like you've got to find those things. I mean, that's why I wish I had more rentals, but I didn't, in hindsight, I wish I had kept more. But at the time, my rentals were a byproduct of my active business. I was fixing, flipping, wholesaling, doing all that stuff. But I needed to do that to find the rentals, and I had to pay for an office. I had to pay for marketing. I had to pay for those things. Unless you're independently wealthy, or you've got some,
or you're born into it,
yeah, or you've got some other business that throws off a lot of cash. I don't know how you build. You can't build wealth. That is. We're off on all sorts of tangents here, but that is why the rich get richer. It's because they have assets and they can weather storms. And so, by the way,
even the philosophy is like, just use somebody else's money.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't.
How are you going to pay them back?
Yeah.
You get a bunch of bank loans. Like, I can't stand the term financial literacy. I cannot. It's so cringy. Like, why can't we just encourage people to just get money? Financial literacy. Can we just change that? How about you go get your bread up,
Yeah. If we can change it to the Gulf of America, we can change that.
We can do anything. Right. That's right.
Yeah. Cool, man. Hey, if folks want to learn more about you, if they want to JV with you on deals or more about your company, where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, equitycashoffer.com, send them there. I mean, obviously you can find us on social media too.
Okay.
Equity Cash Offer.
TikTok, apparently, right?
Yeah, actually, I told our media guy, I was like, bro, I haven't seen a TikTok in some months, and he was like forgetting to post on there. I'm like, wow, I'm missing the wave.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like TikTok is insane. Like I actually did a speaking event. I was at a Harley Davidson in Fort Worth a few months ago, and I was walking in, and I was like, where am I? I've never been to like a Harley Davidson before, right? And I see these two like skinhead white dudes looking at me. I was like, holy shit, I'm about to get nuked. I'm about to get hung, and I walk in and I do the speaking event upstairs, and he's like, he's like, hey, I saw you on TikTok. And I'm like, what do you mean TikTok? Yeah, like my friend showed me like a video we were in on TikTok, and it's like crazy, like, did like a speaking event years ago, and it like resurfaced on TikTok, and it's just like the reach of that is crazy.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me today.
For sure.
Good to see you, buddy. I wish you all the best. Definitely got to stay in touch. We got to talk more often.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. However I can help you. Yeah. So, how can folks get a hold of you?
They just watch this podcast. You know how to get a hold of me.
Oh, yeah.
Investorfuel.com. You go to investorfuel.com.
I like the studio. It's nice.
Yeah. Everybody, Donovan's a great guy. He's been around for long enough to weather some storms. And if you're looking for somebody to work with to help dispo your deals, you should definitely check him out. So appreciate you guys joining us today. I think one of the lessons from today, besides this turned into a brief comedy show here and there, is that there's ups and downs in this business. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that you don't quit if you fail. If you fall down, you got to get up. I mean, that is what makes an entrepreneur. So appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Mark,
for joining us today.
Mark,
have a great, I am not Mark Cuban. I am Mike.
Wait, Hambright. I got one last joke. I said it. If you don't got money right now, you got to be funny.
Do you say it again?
You don't have money, you can be funny.
Okay.
Right. So if you're broke, all you got to do is tell jokes.
And people will put money in your sack or what?
No, it's just you got to bring something to the table.
That's true. One last lesson is if you don't have money, you got to be funny. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.